Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the number one network in the United States. And also Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe. According to Big C and his good old boys down south, I think he's added Kellyanne Conway, so I know we're number one now, Big C. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you so much for following Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. And of course, across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Thank you for following Big C Sports. And also, I love Canada. Nothing greater than Canada outside of them good old boys from the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
We're doing wonderful down here, Charlton.
Yeah.
We're getting over that Super Bowl hangover, and the rain came in and washed a lot of tears away, but people couldn't tell that other people were crying, walking up and down the street.
Yeah.
Gathering ourselves, looking forward to spring training and baseball. Going to kick off in the next couple of weeks. Charlton, basketball in full swing, so college and NBA, much excitement going on those levels, Charlton.
Oh yeah, there's always something great. You know, the thing I love about football is it's so competitive. It's so loud. I mean, where else do you have about 65 to 70,000 people in stadiums cheering for guys in tight pants, Big Z? And also, outside of... Oh, no, I haven't been to the ballet, Big Z. But I also love the NBA. There's a lot of good things going on. I want to say that this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. In fact, Big C, yours is so clean now because of all that rain. If you were out west here at the Coliseum waiting for the Warriors to tip off against the Chicago Bulls, they might say that Draymond Green is driving Big C's Cadillac, Big C.
That's an oxymoron to have a clean car, you care more about the car. I just take a shower every now and then.
Yeah.
But my baby don't always need one. So, she's out there in the element. She's tough and true. She's dependable, powerful.
Oh, yeah. I tell you that there's something about so many athletes. They have them out here in California. A lot of guys, they love it because it's big, it's strong, and it's powerful, Big C. And I know we have so much happening in the world of basketball, but just there's nothing great in the world if you don't have a little bit of controversy. You know how sometimes these guys will go out and they'll look for a sponsor, Big C, and the sponsor is a guy that has a lot of money, can write a paycheck, whether it's wearing tennis shoes or not. And this gentleman by the name of Kevin Plank, he's a CEO of Under Armour. And, we have people who talk about politics because they're intelligent. And he came out and said that Donald Trump is great for our country. Now, his biggest sponsor is Steph Curry. His biggest, sponsor tool is Steph Curry. And Steph Curry happens to be African-American. And I think this is the same Donald Trump that had the birther movement against President Obama, saying that he's illegitimate, and he's also the guy with stop and frisk and grabbing women by the crotch. Steph Curry has some beautiful children. How does he explain to his daughters that grabbing women by the crotch is wrong, yet the CEO of his biggest sponsor supports Donald Trump, who's on tape saying it, Big C? Should he just shut up, or should he be a man and say it's not right, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I wonder how anyone who has a daughter, whether you're a politician or even just a mainstream citizen, question and answer to your children about these types of statements that are made. And he said it's just locker room banter. You got to realize some of these guys have daughters in high school and in college, and is that the type of environment that they're in?
Yeah.
So, to come out and publicly, address that scenario, even with Tom Brady and Robert Kraft, and I know Robert, lost his wife several years ago, and everyone's sympathetic to him about that. But Tom Brady, with a wife and children, and, a mother who's going through cancer treatment, how would he feel, how would he address Donald if he walked up and did that to a loved one of his?
Oh, wow.
Anybody within his cabinet, Charlton. Because, what I've seen him do is since he's been president, is something that's very inappropriate that I have not witnessed any president during my time doing, Charlton.
Yeah.
Walking up and just kissing the women that are around for the appointees and everyone else. He's grabbing their wives, kissing them. This is not an appropriate nature of a civic leader, Joe,
Yeah.
to just walk up and start kissing on women, shaking their hands, giving a gentle bow of the head. That's very appropriate in his political father. But here's a man who said, "This is what I do. I go up there and physically assert myself on women."
Yeah.
And this is what he's doing. And I can't wait for some public outrage sometime from some woman that he gets over-aggressive with on television, because he's going to do it.
Well,
and what's going to be the statement that, well, the president didn't mean anything? Yes, he does. He means every action that he states and says. And when I look at the scenario with Under Armour, Tom Brady is one of the clients, in Under Armour. University of Notre Dame, very religious Catholic school. What's going to be their political stance, Charles? When the University of Notre Dame is wearing his product.
Yeah.
Many other universities, South Carolina wears this product, Charles. So when you look around and you have someone who has a high influx of African American athletes on their rosters, whether it's college, high school, professional, Charles, what is going to be the stance, with the racial climate in America such as it is, and you're wearing a product endorsed by Donald Trump, basically, because this product is produced outside the country.
Yeah.
It's produced in one of those countries, Dawson, those Muslim countries that Donald Trump did not put the ban on.
Yeah.
Okay? So, there's volume in what people do and say, and he did not put a ban on a company that he does business with or does business with him. He did not put a ban on those countries.
Well, see, the thing about Steph Curry, and you brought it up to me before, and sometimes I think people have this thing about ESPN or whoever it is. They'll do something for 1 week and they say, okay, we did our thing, no violence against women for 1 week. We had some athletes get on TV and cry and say don't do it. And then it's gone. It's like a UFO is here and it's gone. And some people wonder if they even saw it, Big C. But I think there's something that, especially just watching the documentary 13th and seeing how African Americans have been treated in this country. And I know you had talked about going back to the museum, African American Museum back in D.C. And with all of that history right there about the White House, and they have President Trump call Don Lewis, Representative John Lewis, saying he's not really a leader and he's the last remaining civil rights leader out there. Just a total lack of respect. And so it's a cultural thing. If black men don't stand up, then maybe we are dumb. Maybe we can be bought. Maybe we just are intellectually vapid. So I'm glad that Steph Curry says, hey, you know what? If you don't stand for my values, then I'm not going to endorse your product. He only got Steph Curry because Nike screwed up on the proposal. I think they even did a proposal where they had the prior player's name on the proposal that they presented to Steph Curry, just from what I hear, Big C. So for Steph Curry to stand up and say, I'm not going to support a company that is so naive and so intellectually vapid or blind that they want to endorse someone who speaks such hatred and division. Whether you like Trump or not, it's not cool to go grab women by the crotch, especially if you have daughters and you're going to wear this man's shoes that endorses that guy. What's that say about you? So I'm glad Steph Curry stood up and said something. I don't know what's going to happen, but at least he wasn't quiet like some of the slaves were forced to be quiet, or some of the guys who were just afraid to talk. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, it's even beyond Steph Curry. When I listen to the remarks that Trump made about some judges, the inappropriate remarks of these highly trained professionals that have been versed in law.
Yeah.
And immersed in it for decades, Charles, and this is their career. Not somebody who's trying to cut a slide deal in the back room underneath the table.
Yeah, with Putin? Okay.
Respected professionals, and they've been appointed to their positions because of their professionalism and intelligence. And for him to go out and make these, childish statements that he's making against the law leaders of America, Charles, and saying that, he has father above them. Yet, the law that he's trying to go by that was made in 1952, I believe it was, there was another that supplanted it in 62.
Yeah.
So, he's using the older and less, worthy of the laws in what he's trying to, convey, and to say that he's making America safe. When you're going after countries who really have no involvement in terrorizing America, how are you making America safe? He said nothing about the Dylan Booth of America, okay?
Yeah.
He's not trying to make them safer. He said nothing about the guy at the Aurora, Colorado theater making them safer. He said nothing about the guy who shot up the school at, I'm trying to remember, Newtown.
Yeah, Newtown,
He said He said nothing about that. He never said anything about the colonizer, which started all this off.
Yeah.
He never said anything about McVeigh, with the Myrtle building in Oklahoma City. You got to make America safe at home first. You can always point a finger saying somebody's coming into the country. But we have more incidents occurring within the country, Dalton, than people coming here.
Yeah.
And he's never talking about that. Make Chicago safe. Make St. Louis safe, Dalton. We have inner cities in America that you can make safe other than worrying about somebody flying in, an individual on a plane. We have thousands of people here in America that keep America unsafe.
Yeah.
Yet that's not your focus because there's no economic gain in doing that. And that's the thing he has to address. There's no economic gain in trying to keep America safe internally. He wants to go outside the country where it's non-impactful to detract people from what's going on in Russia, to detract people from what's going on in the countries that he's doing business with. It's even like today. He crossed the line again today. He's going to use the presidency to threaten one large retailer, Macy's. Nordstrom's.
Nordstrom.
He's going to threaten Nordstrom's because he's the president, saying they're causing his daughter irreparable hardship. How many clothing lines have been dismissed from every major retail outlet in America?
Yeah.
And no one has come up using the president to say, hey, you got to go after these people.
That is so good, Big C, because when you talk about being intelligent, if you don't talk about some of the things in life, then you are just a dumb jock. So I'm so glad, and if it takes African Americans to stand up and do it, Tom Brady, they made him their kind of America's prodigal son. They want to call him the golden boy and all that garbage. All he is a football player with no social conscience, and a lot of people say, well, don't say that. Just let him be a good football player. But my goodness, if you have a chance to stand up and make life better for other people, even just be 10% of what the great Dr. Martin Luther King was, I think that's a great statement to make, Big C. I want to say this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery at Big C. You're going to love this one. Tonight's Powerball is over $255 million, Big C. That's $255 million, and that's spelled 255 M. 255 million, Big C. Who cares? With that kind of money, you don't need to spell, Big C. Your thoughts?
A lot of people have. Donald Trump will send you congratulations. If you win that kind of money, because he's going to expect you to pay taxes on it, even though he would not pay taxes on it. So
yeah.
That's one of the things you have to look at. But you mentioned Tom Brady, Charlton, and this story is still going on about his missing jersey from the locker room. Now, the NFL has made a statement, Charlton, that locker room only had non-NFL people in it for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Prior to the media showing up.
Yeah.
Okay? So, what I'm really thinking, because you got to understand, the NFL Hall of Fame wants that jersey, okay?
Yeah.
They want that jersey. Tom Brady wants that jersey. So, I think, in a month, a week or two, whatever, Tom Brady's going to say, I found the jersey I had this other bag that I overlooked.
Yeah.
Because, here's everybody out there crying that this jersey could be worth upwards of $500,000.
Oh, that's a joke.
A joke. $500,000. All the jerseys in the locker rooms are not worth that.
Yeah.
But, the highest anyone has ever paid for a Tom Brady jersey, Charlton, is $5,700.
Yeah.
$5,700 is the most a Tom Brady jersey has ever gone. So we're talking about they're pricing this thing at 900 times what the most expensive jersey ever gone for.
Yeah.
For Tom Brady. And yet, the most expensive NFL jersey ever paid for, Charlton, was $60,000. Only $60,000. Because there's too many NFL players, Charlton. And there's too many significant records that are in the league for someone to go out and pay that type of money. And plus, you can't show it off. You can't let people know that you have it.
Yeah.
So it can sit in Tom Brady's house, and no one will know any different because it's Tom Brady's jersey, and they can't say this is the specific one. He frames it, puts it on the wall. He knows which jersey it is.
Yeah.
He goes up there amongst the other 50 Tom Brady jerseys that he has on the wall.
You want to really know what happened to Tom Brady's jersey, Big C? I noticed no one stole the hat that said "Make America Great Again," and he know that he and Bob Kraft have been under this controversy about why they support a bigot president and Donald Trump, whether you like him or not. You can't take away what he said about grabbing women in the vagina. You can't take away what he said about John Lewis not being an American hero, one of the greatest civil rights activists. You can't take away what he said about John McCain's not an American hero because he was captured.
This story about the jersey to deflect from that.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah, that's all it is.
From getting him wrapped up in the politics, let's create a story about his jersey.
Yeah.
So people will pay more attention to his jersey than what he sponsored pre-Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because it took away from any post-Super Bowl questions about his political affiliation.
Yeah.
And it focused on a jersey that had disappeared. No one asked him about Trump, which he would have been lambasted with questions about Trump after being named the MVP because he was on that pedestal.
Yeah.
But now, because of his jersey missing, they got the Texas Rangers involved. If the jersey left the stadium, the jersey is not going to be found.
Right.
Plain and simple.
That's
and
true.
the guy who took the jersey say, hey, I got it over here.
Yeah.
Okay? But that's it. And if you look at the level of what they're valuing at, that's prison time. So who's going to say, I created grand theft?
Yeah.
Okay? I did that. Because I want to go to prison. I want to let you know I took Tom Brady's jersey, so lock me up.
Yeah.
You can't even get a plea deal in that situation.
In fact, the thing, that jersey was sacked 5 times. It was a great football game, but yeah, that's just a story to get people from talking about him being an intellectually vapid quarterback, because they still want to make him the great white hero, and that's what they're going to do. He could be dumb. He doesn't have to be, called on the carpet or thrown under the carpet like a Colin Kaepernick. He can support this guy who's just divisive in our country and doing so many things that's trying to roll back rights for women and also people of color, Big C. I just want to say also, in being out here in Golden State, I really like this area in the East Bay, but they're leaving, I think, in 2 more years. They've already broken ground on the arena in San Francisco, and what an arena it will be, right there off of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay and just south of the Bay Bridge, Big C, and it's about 4 blocks to the south of AT&T Park, right there on the Embarcadero, Big C. So it's going to be a great place, but just my heart kind of hurts for Oakland because they've had some great players here in the Coliseum, not just in basketball, but you have great players that have played for the Raiders. You have great players that have played for the Oakland A's. Great players that have played for Golden State. And when we talk about Golden State, people think Steph Curry and they think Klay Thompson. But you've been around a long time. Who would be some of the greatest players that played for the Golden State Warriors that are no longer going to have their jerseys in their rafters there? They're going to be moved across the Bay, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, when you look over time, you got to always think about Rick Barry. Rick Barry was always synonymous with that organization going back, decades. But I look at Gus Williams, who played point guard on that, championship game that they had in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
You had Clifford Gray. You had Don Chaney, who also played, the 2 guard. They had a wealth of talent. Even Keith Wilkes was a great part of that organization.
Oh, yeah.
Former Los Angeles Lakers, UCLA Bruins, Johnson. But, I really love Run DMC. I mean, when you think about Richmond, Hardaway, and Mullen.
On the great John Nelson, yeah.
People talk about the shooters that they have now in Thompson, Durant, and Curry.
Yeah.
Those shooters at that time, Charleston, were equal to the shooters that they have now. This team could move the ball up and down the court. Everybody in the NBA feared that they had to play the Golden State Warriors back during Don Nelson's heyday with Run TMC.
Yeah.
So people forget. Well, I'm not going to say people forget that's the wrong language. This ESPN, generation doesn't really understand the great players that have been in the Bay Area. Nate Thurman, one of the greatest centers of all time.
Oh, amazing.
In the NBA. This was a guy who was a dominant force in the paint and had an illustrious career for a long time.
Yeah.
So, his players that have been there with the Golden State Warriors, that have been the fabric of that program, that are going to be forgotten.
Well,
they moved along.
Yeah, and see, you mentioned something about Rick Barry, and when it comes to players, even his kids that played basketball, they've gone. He has a kid playing in the NBA, and I think his name was Scooter. He's an NBA analyst also. I think a lot of
Don Barry, his son.
Yeah, Barry, his son, and I believe they played at De La Salle High School over in the East Bay, one of the national powers in football, but also a great state power in basketball. But that whole family, and when we talk about the Warriors and what they mean to the city of Oakland, because there's a difference between the East Bay and then the San Francisco city section. San Francisco is gorgeous. Anywhere in the world, that city and the restaurants and the skyline it competes with any place in the world, Big C. But just leaving that talent in the area with that dirt in the Coliseum parking lot is hosted. I may be wrong, but 2 championships for the Raiders. I know they got 2 in Oakland, 1 in LA. It's hosted, I think, 2 championships for Golden State for NBA basketball. I believe the A's have won 3 championships, Big C. And it's a shame that you have cities like Boston that can keep Fenway Park as historic as that is, and they haven't talked about moving out of Fenway Park to go out and play someplace in the suburbs of Boston. But here in Oakland, which is also close to the water, there's so much talk about leaving just to go to the city, and I think it's a loss for the fans and the history of it, Big C. You'll never see Candlestick Park again. They tore it down, even though they had 5 championships. And once it's gone, it's gone. So why are they tearing down in the Bay Area? But on the East Coast, they're not moving teams out of New York or teams out of Boston area, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, it's also a different mindset. When you look at the East Coast, those are entrenchment, organizations. It's been around since time, when you realistically look at it. And they have a fan base that goes into decades, that family lineage, that tickets are passed on amongst family members. We have to look no further than the Cubs, that you can't get the season tickets for because they've been put in wheels, they moved on to family members. Green Bay, a place like that where, at Lambeau, you have a 47-year waiting to get a ticket. So, these are areas, Charlton, and geographically, when you look at them, you got to look at how it's minimized as far as exposure to do other things. And that's one of the problems they have in California.
Yeah.
We saw the fanfare with the Rams when they moved out there.
Yeah.
Sell out stadium for a couple of games. They said, this is the same team that was losing.
No wonder they didn't support them in St. Louis, Big C.
They go to a college game and be more entertained. At least they score touchdowns. So when you look at things like that, one of the problems with California is that you have too many things. You got the Chargers, you got the Rams, you got the Raiders, you got the 49ers, you got the Clippers, you got the Lakers, you got the Warriors. So many teams in baseball. You got a baseball team on every block, a professional baseball team in California. So when you look, LA by itself has 2. You got one in San Diego, you got one in Oakland, you got one in San Francisco. So it's just overwhelming. The entertainment factors in California. You're not limited like when you go to Green Bay. You have the Packers, nothing else. No competition. You got to go to Milwaukee to see a basketball or baseball game. Another part of the state. So these are the things that when you have the overwealth of product that you're putting out, you saturate your product. It's like with the NFL being broadcast in so many ways now, they say, well, viewership is down. Think about how many people are watching the games on their phone at work. And,
I agree.
Bar, and watch it. It's on every radio outlet that you can find an NFL game. So the product is saturated. It's not that the product is less. The product is saturated. So now they're trying to figure out how to recoup these marketing dollars that are going away because they say, hey, your viewership is down. That's the big cry. It's not that there's less people. It's about the money and how they get their money. That's where the cry is. But when we look at all of this in totality, teams leaving cities, you're moving across the Bay. It's like the San Francisco 49ers 2 years ago when they left San Francisco to go to San Francisco.
That was a mistake.
It's just in the same state. That's all it is. The different mindset of people in both of those regions. Candlestick Park, they've been on that peninsula forever since the early 60s. And how some of the greats in baseball's history had played there. Then the 49ers moved in after they left Kezar Stadium there and made it a dual, occupancy stadium, and they closed it in. But, here it is, the Raiders. I mean, when you built that Coliseum complex there in Oakland, where you brought the A's in from Kansas City, you had the Oakland Raiders as they built their organization there, and then you had Oracle Arena, which was really the Coliseum. And the Oakland basketball team played there. And so no one thought about it as anything else. They remodeled that arena, I'm going to believe, about 5-6 years ago. If I'm not uncertain.
No, you're right.
And expanded it to close to 20,000 people. So what was wrong is that everybody's crying about luxury boxes now, Charlton. Luxury boxes about more revenue. Yes, the players are making more, but the NBA is making more money. But the owner keeps the money from the luxury boxes. That's his personal
wait a minute. You're saying they're not giving some of that money back to the inner city schools where they build these stadiums, Big C?
That's What he makes on his luxury boxes, that's his pocket.
Well, Big C, I need to become an NBA owner, Big C. I can use some pocket change right about now. I want to say this segment is sponsored by United Labor Guaranteed Life Insurance up to $100,000 with no medical questions. Tweet out the Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network or follow us on Twitter at Yes Charlton. That's YES Charlton, and find out more about life insurance. We work with all of the unions in the country under the AFL-CIO, and we are endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. Now, Big C, our goal is to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers because we simply want to put people back to work. You know, we talk about this game tonight that's coming up with Golden State and also the Chicago Bulls, and both teams have such history. And you talk about Coach Kerr that played for the great Phil Jackson, well, the erstwhile great Phil Jackson. He's not the same without Kobe Bryant, Shaq, or Michael Jordan on his teams, Big C. But just the history of Chicago winning 6 NBA championships in 8 years, and Golden State and all the history out here, and the great players that you just talked about. So the new generation, you talked about Ron TMC, under that team ran a lot, and they were so impressive getting the ball up and down the court. They were like a Northern California version of the Los Angeles Lakers, okay? That's what I remember about that team. So yeah, this team is great, but the history of these two great programs with Chicago having Pippen and Jordan and Dennis Rodman, and then even Steve Kerr, Paxton, all the great players. Bill Cartwright played there. I think he's out of Elk Grove, California. I believe he went to USF, the University of San Francisco, and he was a great Bull. So you have...
That's Bill Russell's alma
Yeah.
Casey Jones.
Yeah. I remember doing some games at the University of San Francisco up on the hill, and they were playing Pepperdine in a basketball game, and you'd have Casey Jones. His jersey hangs in the rafters as well as Russell, so Cartwright. But I just want to say that no matter where you are, I appreciate these two great organizations in the history that they bring. It's not just two new upstart organizations like you have maybe in OKC or the Memphis Grizzlies. So if you could just look at Golden State right now and what they represent, they playing tonight at home against Chicago. Chicago's had some challenges on the season, but Golden State has the best record in the NBA at 43-8. And compared to what they did last year, it's kind of a drop-off, Big C, even though they may have a better team. And then you look across the country, and the Bulls are only 26-26. I know they haven't had the success they thought they'd have. It's so easy to see an organization on top, and then next they're down just because a couple of trades, Big C. What do you think long-term? Who has the most prestige as the best organizations, the Bulls with more championships, or the Warriors with better players that might be Hall of Famers, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at teams nowadays in professional sports, it's only about what you're doing now. You know, you have to have instant gratification. I need success. I need you to win, because not your career is over, whether it's a player or a coach.
Yeah.
They are expendable now. They don't have longevity, community involvement like they once had with professional organizations. Where players came in and played their entire career with an organization. That's the biggest rarity now. When you look at that Bulls team, Charlton, they stayed together. There were a few interchangeable players that came in and out, but for the most part, that nucleus stayed together. You go back to the Celtics when they won 11 championships.
Yeah.
That was a nucleus of a team that stayed together. When you look at the dynasties, the two different dynasties that the Lakers have carried, under Kareem and Magic and Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah.
Those teams stayed intact, Charlton, and you're not getting that any longer. You think about even when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar moved from Milwaukee to L.A.
Yeah.
Okay, just as Shaq left Orlando and went to L.A., you're not getting that longevity. We talked about the rich history of the Warriors.
Yeah.
Clifford Ray, who played center with the Warriors, started his career with the Bulls.
Wow.
And you also think about the Chief, who finished, an illustrious career with the Boston Celtics, playing 20 years in the NBA, spent his first 5 years with the Golden State Warriors. He was a center out of St. Mary's, a little small school, first overall draft pick. And, he had a great run with the Boston Celtics, winning multiple championships. So, when players stayed with organizations, they won championships, but we don't get that.
Big C, hold on. How do do you know all this stuff? I watched some ESPN. They were shuffling papers. One of the good old boys dropped his paper, and they had to stop the show for about 5 seconds. They were doing an interview, and the microphone didn't work for the guy on TV they were interviewing, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we're having technical difficulties." And then they said, "So what do you want to talk about?" And they waited for the producer to tell them what they were talking about. Is there anybody on your boat telling you what to say, Big C?
Well, I gotta go to my cue cards, and I'm sitting in the dark, so I gotta find one of them eventually. Even a blind squirrel will find an acorn every now and then.
Go ahead, Z.
But when you look around at these great organizations, you look at the run that the Philadelphia 76ers had, under Dr. DeJ and Moses Malone.
Yeah.
That group of players, Lloyd B. Free, when they were together, Maurice Cheeks, who's been a coach in the NBA, when they had their run, the Houston Rockets, we think about the great run of Hakeem Olajuwon, Kenny Smith, Vernon Maxwell, these guys played basketball, Charlton, but they stayed together. Rudy Tomjanovich held that organization together, and the latest of the greatest coaches, Charlton, Greg Popovich.
Oh, yeah.
The nucleus that he built around Tim Duncan and Mono Ginobili and Tony Parker, and he just kept extending that family of players that fit those players.
Yeah.
He didn't want superstars. He wanted players that fit those players. But you look at Kawhi Leonard, who was quietly developed into a superstar, playing under Pop's tutelage.
Yeah.
So when you have these coaches that can do that, Charlie, I'm trying to bring in a free agent here and there all the time. Pat Riley has spun that web down in Miami.
Yeah.
But teams that are built from within and kept the nucleus intact have developed championship seasons. But those players who are constantly trying to move, and I can't blame a player for wanting to make more money.
Yeah.
But you also, how much money do you need to make in the NBA to make you comfortable with the minimum salary now you make is $4 million a year?
I need that $255 million tonight in the California Powerball, Big C. That's how much money we need in the last 5 minutes of our show today, Big C, because I got to get over to the Coliseum and get things wrapped up. I just want to run down a few things and get your thoughts on tonight's game. We have Cleveland. They're playing Indiana. Philadelphia's playing San Antonio. Atlanta's playing Denver. Detroit's at home versus the LA Lakers. And you have Milwaukee. They're going to be at home versus Miami. That should be a game of the teams that are trying to find themselves. Miami's playing pretty good basketball lately. Washington is a 9.5 point favorite over Brooklyn. Memphis favorite by 10 over the Phoenix Suns. You have Utah by 3.5 over New Orleans. Toronto by 3 over Minnesota. I think Toronto has one of the best arenas in the basketball game, and they're actually outside of the country. The Clippers are a 1.5 point favorite over your favorite team, the New York Knicks, Big Z, you and Phil Jackson, and then Golden State in Chicago, and then Sacramento has a game up in Northern California against the Boston Celtics. Just again, your thoughts on what it means, not necessarily who's going to win this game, but just these are two of the better, I guess, historical dominant programs, as well as winning championships and having great players. Just your thoughts on Chicago out here on the West Coast, taking on the Warriors, and we'll close it out with you, Big C.
Well, Charlton, when you look at just where the Warriors are right now, just the state of franchise, the state of mind of players, they're really the best team in the NBA playing night in, night out. There's so much controversy around the NBA right now. That lets you know that the season is too long, and people are not talking about how teams are performing. They're talking about, here's LeBron James trying to orchestrate a trade. Here's Carmelo Anthony and Phil Jackson constantly bickering where he's trying to get out of the no trade clause that he has in his contract. But when you look at the Warriors, they were trying to say that Kevin Durant and
Westbrook
were bickering the other night.
Yeah.
And players, inspire each other through conversation and things. But the media can't say things positive nowadays, and that's what's wrong with sports. Is that you have all these guys who are sitting there like tabloidism and talking about what's going on with the game and the players.
Yeah.
In this world of social media, I think if a player needs to say something, they can be like Donald Trump. They can say it.
Yeah.
They can take that role.
Yeah.
But players, what goes on internally stays internally. You don't break this stuff out on the outside like we've had Phil Jackson in New York. The Golden State Warriors are a well-kept organization. And when you think about it, Steve Kerr played for Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
But Steve Kerr is not being the butthead that Phil Jackson is. He's not out blaming other people.
Yeah.
The internal strife within his team takes care of itself when they're on the court.
Yeah.
That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to play basketball. They're not paid to be spokespersons. And they're going out night in, night out, may have the best record in the NBA.
Yeah.
And doing what they're paid to do, Charlton. And that's the signs of a great organization, a great camaraderie between players. But yes, they won 73 games last year, didn't win a championship. Maybe they worked too hard trying to get to the 73.
Yeah.
And didn't work as hard getting to the championship. They've been a little tired.
Yeah.
But this year, Charlton, they don't have to worry about 73 because they're already there. This year, they concentrate more on winning the championship.
Yeah.
They'll most likely face LeBron in finals. But this will be a different composite of a team with the Golden State Warriors this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because this is a team that realizes our focus is winning a championship, not setting an NBA season record. And so this is going to be a loss that the Bulls take tonight, Charlton.
Yeah, well, Big C, kind of an inside story. I don't know if it's true. The reason that Draymond Green was mad at Kevin Durant is because he let him borrow the Escalade and he didn't bring it back with gas, Big C. You know how much it costs to fill up that car? That's just what I hear, Big C. I also want to say this last segment is sponsored by Big C Sports. We cover athletic insurance and events insurance all over the country for pros, college, and also high schools. I also want to say every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network, the #1 network in the United States, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to Big C and his good old boys, there's never any excuse for domestic violence against women. If you know any woman in trouble or some man grabbing her crotch, just call 911 because that's not acceptable. And as we say, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. We thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.